Hey guys, welcome to The Mom Show. I'm your host, Courtney Doyle, and this is a place I am giving you permission to not have it all together. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today, I have my very first man on the show, and it is my husband. Do you feel privileged that you're the first man on the show?
I am. I'm pretty sure I should be the first man on the show, being that I am the first man.
You are. You fall second to another man, but you already know that.
He's up there.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so Scott did not know that he was doing this until 3 days ago. I just said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if I had you on the show and we talked about marriage? Because we're celebrating our wedding anniversary tomorrow. We've been together for 32 years, which is a minute.
Or two.
Minute or two.
Yeah.
And so I asked you guys, the listeners of the show, my Instagram followers, what questions, if you could ask a couple who's been married as long as we have, what are some of the questions that you would ask us? And y'all submitted a lot. We got a lot of questions, and we got some really good ones, and we got some really hard ones. And you've heard some of them, but we have not really prepared anything. So this ought to be interesting. It's just going to be off the cuff. Let's start with something easy. What is the most surprising thing that you have discovered about marriage from the expectation of marriage versus reality? I'm going to let you go. What is the most surprising thing that you have discovered about marriage?
Well, because it's probably one of the hardest things, but it's probably one of the most rewarding things. Probably outside of having kids, having a marriage, and that I enjoy. You're my best friend. I think when you see stuff on TV, you don't really understand, number one, how hard it is, and then number two, how rewarding it can be.
So that's been the most surprising thing?
Yeah. I mean,
that it's actually...
No one can really go into it and realize how hard it is. And hard isn't really a bad word. It's just, you've got to learn. And I know a lot of these questions are probably going to get into some of this, but you've got to find your lane and know how to make it work. And it takes time and it takes understanding from both sides.
Yeah. I definitely think the expectation versus reality. I do think that we watch things on TV, and of course we didn't have social media when we were younger, but now I think that younger couples are seeing things on social media, and so they're setting their expectations really to be unrealistic. And that is not reality. A screenshot or a small reel of seeing the husband doing this or the wife doing that, and it all being curated and perfect. And oh my gosh, look how happy they are. There's behind the scenes going on as well. And so I do think some of that is setting younger couples up, especially. That's just not reality. And they're expecting things from their partner that are not reality, because at the end of the day, we're both human and we're both very flawed, and we have our own past and we have our own quirks and we have our own personalities, and molding those together. If you go in expecting everything to be the way you envisioned it, you're going to be disappointed. We've been disappointed in each other until we've figured some things out, but it's not like we don't sometimes still get disappointed.
I'm going to throw it out there. These 4 or 5 carat looking engagement rings, you're setting yourself up, guy, because
some of this is crazy.
So what are you going to do 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road when you've already bought them the Mercedes, the 4 carat ring, the big house, and all that? Number one, you're going to run out of money, and you're going to stress yourself out. But I just think that those expectations, you got to start where you are and then work towards something. If you start out like most of our parents probably didn't have a lot of those things until they were way into their marriage.
Yeah.
But it seems like because of what people see on social media, they think, oh, well, I've got to live in the big house and I got to have the nice cars and I've got to have the big ring, which I don't think a lot of those rings are real.
It's definitely up for discussion. Yeah. You've bought some diamonds in our lifetime, so it's definitely up for discussion on some of that. But I do agree that we started out broke as a joke. Really. My engagement ring was a diamond that my grandmother was planning on giving me when I graduated from college. So when I was in junior high, she gave me a diamond for me to go to high school. And then when I was in high school, she gave me a second diamond. And then I was going to get a third diamond. And we got married before I graduated college. And my mother, when you went to my parents and said, "Hey, I'm going to propose," my mom was like, "Hey, we have this diamond." And that became my engagement ring. And then at the wedding, you surprised me with a totally different set because those 3 diamonds are diamonds from my grandmother. So now they're set in a necklace. And all of that made it more fun and more special.
It was a weight off my shoulders because whenever I went and asked your parents and told them what I was planning on doing, I had that planned out, but I had not planned out how I was going to have a ring in time to go to Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they said that, I was like, whew, thank God, because I didn't have that part planned out.
Yeah.
So it worked out great. And I think it was very special because you saw the ring, your wedding ring, on the altar.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah. I had no idea. And so when Scott and I got engaged, his father had been diagnosed with cancer. And shortly before our engagement, we found out that the cancer had metastasized and his lifespan, of course, had been shortened drastically. And so we sped everything up because we wanted him to be part of our wedding. And so there was a trip planned, which would ultimately be the last trip that he was able to take with us. And that's where we got engaged. But yeah, it was, I guess, weeks before the wedding, Scott said, "Hey, I need the necklace because the 2 diamonds that I had received younger had been set on a necklace." And so he said, "I need your engagement ring and I need your grandmother's diamond necklace that you have. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing with it." And so it was literally when he put the ring on my finger that I realized he had designed something totally separate for our wedding. And at the reception, the jeweler was a friend of ours and he was invited. And at our wedding reception, he came up. And the 3rd diamond of my grandmother's had been set. And yeah, it's a great story and it's a great memory. All right, here is another question. Oh, do you like all of the animals or are you just supporting my farm endeavors?
Most of them. A lot of it's support.
Come on. You've said yes to almost all the animals.
I say yes to you.
Okay.
It's not necessarily what you're asking for. I say yes to you.
But you love our animals, right?
I love you.
Come on.
I love
Come
my
on.
stuff.
Who would you get rid of? Name one.
Dale.
Okay. That's fair. Dale is the newest puppy. Dale wants to kill the cats. Dale could probably do better at another home without cats because it has created a lot of stress.
By himself, too, I think.
Yeah, by himself. Dale's
easily egged on by the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it's fair to say that 1 out of the 40 animals is the only one you'd want to get rid of. You love all the rest?
I love them all. I mean, the farm animals, they're easy, but they get a little bit expensive. But other than that, they're pretty easy.
Yeah. So. They're good. They're good. Okay, so you're participatory in the animal obsession, and you say yes to me more than you actually say yes to the animal itself.
I do. I do.
Is that a lesson you would share with a young couple? Say yes to your wife at all times?
Most of the time, yeah.
You're not like a yes guy. That's not fair.
But I try to say yes to you as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's important for me to be able to say yes to you as much as I can. But you also don't ask for crazy stuff. You ask for a horse or you ask for a cow. Yeah, in some situations, if you lived in a neighborhood that you couldn't have them, that would be.
And
then wasn't like, will you ask for a $50,000 horse?
Could I have?
Would
you have said?
I'm not answering that question.
It's I try to be reasonable.
Yeah.
With my expectations versus reality. Didn't we just talk about that? All right, here's another one. What advice would you give to a newly engaged couple?
Well, marriage is not dating. When you're dating, it's what restaurant are we going to go to? What movie are we going to watch? When you're married, it's how much are we going to spend on a home? How many kids are we going to have? Who's changing that diaper? Who's getting up with the kid? There's the questions and the issues step it up a notch. So it's definitely, you got to be prepared for those things and maybe even talk about some of that stuff while you're dating.
Yeah.
So that your expectations are set in one spot, not in one that's where you are completely off. I don't want to have any kids and I want to have 6 kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, for a newly engaged couple, gosh, I would say if you've gotten to the point of engagement, I hope that you have already really done some research on whether or not you are yoked appropriately, and of course, do your values align? And not only family values, but especially religious values are important. I wouldn't say political as far as
I would say political, especially in this day and time because it's so polarized.
yeah. I think in this day and time it would be different probably because it wasn't that polarized when we were.
No.
I don't think you and I actually ever had a real political conversation in our dating years or anything like that. I can't recall us sitting down and really having a political conversation. But maybe because we aligned, maybe because we always knew we aligned. But I think religion
That's number one.
that was number one.
You
Our beliefs.
finances, political views. There's a lot of things. If the more of those boxes you can check off, I think the more the percentage of success goes up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I also think for a newly engaged couple, it would be really important to go into a marriage with complete transparency and honesty. You don't want things to sneak up on you in marriage. Marriage is hard enough. Navigating life together is hard enough. And I think if there's secrets that have not been shared going into a marriage, when they come up, it can feel very, what's the word? Not sabotage, but
Blindsided a little.
yeah, blindsided and almost I'm who you chose. And it feels like you kept things from me. And so it starts to break down trust if you are in a marriage and now you're revealing things that probably should have been discussed prior to a marriage. That can be really hard.
I agree.
We had pretty deep conversations right off the bat. And so I think that's important for a newly engaged couple to work through those things and be just as honest as possible. That way you're going in with full transparency into a marriage and there's no surprise. This is what maybe happened in my past, or this is this or that. It just takes that all off the table. So you start fresh together without a bunch of skeletons in the closet that you have to uncover. That's some advice. Oh, here's a good one. What is one thing your spouse told you or advised you to do and you didn't listen, but you wish you would have? Go ahead.
Oh, I was figuring you'd have a few.
Gosh, I don't know.
There's been things about finances where you've questioned, and because I had the attitude early on, oh, I just work harder, is because of the way my mentors were. Is if you want, you want to buy this or you want to buy that, you just figure it out. It's a math equation. If you work 25% harder, then you should make 25% more money.
Yeah.
And so early on, we made some purchases that were like, yeah. And sometimes you'd say, can we really do that? Of course we can. And then not that it would go bad, but there would be a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And
then in the middle of that, you can follow that equation. And that's great, other than life happens. Things happen that maybe you didn't expect. And
3 baseball practices in the same afternoon. Hard to work extra 25% if I'm trying to go to 3 different baseball practices while you're going to dance and cheerleading and this and that.
Or it's hard to work 25% harder when you've lost your house and your offices to a hurricane.
Yeah.
So life happens. And maybe. I'm trying to think of any advice that you've given me that I didn't listen that I wish I would have. I'm sure there's a lot. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. Because I feel like we don't really make any super rash decisions ever. You know what I mean? There's a lot of talk, a lot of prayer, a lot of should. We kind of sit on it.
Been on your butt for a long time to finish that book.
Yeah. Yeah. He has been. And I probably should have finished that sooner.
I believe in you.
That's okay.
About some of that stuff way more than you believe in yourself, because you read it, part of it to me one time. I was like, holy cow, you wrote that? And you got to get that finished. I think that was 5 years ago?
It's so close.
Yeah.
It's right there. Okay, here's another question. Ooh, what were the biggest challenges you had to overcome in the first 5 years of marriage? Oh, remember what Monsignor said at the wedding? Do you remember he was like, the advice that he gave was like the first X amount of months or maybe years, it's like the honeymoon phase. And what did he say?
He broke it up in three: honeymoon, and then he called it something else, and then reality. And
Yeah. And I remember when we hit the reality, we were like, oh, this is what he was talking about. This
well,
isn't fun
was that
anymore at all.
was that
Like
when
we
you
were
were
just
sitting on the front porch on the
probably,
steps calling
prob-
your dad?
probably.
What was that? What was I thinking, or what?
Yeah, yeah. I think the first, like you get married and it's, oh my gosh, we get to live together and this is so fun. And it's the honeymoon phase. It's you're pretending, you're playing house. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is real. And we have real bills and we have real problems. And you don't put your dirty clothes in the hamper, you throw it next to the hamper. Yeah, that's not going to work. Or wait, I'm sorry, when you brush your teeth, shouldn't all of the toothpaste go down the drain and not decorate the bowl of?
Isn't it funny how you are only bringing up the things that you say I do?
Then share.
I think she said something about paying the bills. How did you pay the bills the first time?
I was very excited about being a wife and getting to sign my name and my new last name. And I wrote all of the checks. This was back when you wrote checks to pay the bills. And I put them in all the envelopes and I addressed all the envelopes. And I was so excited to put the return address because we had our own little house. And that's what I did. And I left them on
And there they sat, and the bills didn't get paid.
the
30 something years later, you have not touched a bill since.
No, I don't pay the bills. If you asked me what the house note was, I would literally not know. I don't even know who to pay it to. I don't know how to pay it to. But you're a financial consultant. I shouldn't be responsible. You do a better job at it.
Okay.
You do. So I don't pay the bills because we were not married very long and I left them all sitting on the counter and he walked in and was like going through the mail and was like, why did these not ever make it in the mail? And I was literally like, I just wrote the checks and look how good I did. And he was like, yeah, never again. You know what else you took away from me? What did you take? Ironing the shirts. True story. We had not been married for very long. I was in college and Scott wore a suit every day to work. And I was so excited. I took all of his button down shirts out of the closet. I put on the soap operas, probably Days of Our Lives. I put the ironing board out and I ironed every single one of his shirts because he was having to iron them every morning before he went to work. And I thought, I am such a good wife. I'm going to iron all of them. And I was so excited. I even had a blister. I had a blister.
I don't remember the blister.
But I ironed all of his shirts and he came home and I was super proud of myself and my ability to be a wife. And like the next morning, I hear the ironing board and I'm like, what could he be ironing? And I walk out and you are re-ironing the shirt I ironed because I had not ironed.
It was just the seams right here.
Yeah.
Needed to be fixed.
And I was very hurt. And
But it still saved me like 90% of the time
didn't
because I
matter.
only had
It
one little
didn't
spot.
matter.
But yeah, she hasn't ironed another thing
I haven't.
since.
I haven't. It hurt. It broke my heart. And 30 years later, he is the official ironer of the family. Even the kids come to Scott and say, Dad, I need this shirt ironed. And you actually enjoy it though.
I mean, clean and green, clean and green.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So first 5 years of marriage, advice for the first 5 years of marriage, man, you're going to fight. We fought. We definitely fought. And yep, we're leaving. We made it all the way to the stairs, the front stairs of the house. And that's where we sat and huffed and puffed. And I remember calling my daddy saying, maybe I got it wrong. And my dad came over and he sat us down and he looked at both of us and he was like, you need to make a list. And you need to make a list of all the things that you love about each other. And you need to make a list of all the things that maybe you don't like about each other. And you need to realize that the things that you love about each other are way more important than all the things that are getting on your nerves. And how can you work through it? And that was it. That was it. We had great examples of parents that, your parents would still be married today if your father had not passed away. My parents, of course, were married for 67 years and didn't spend many days apart before they both went to heaven. And so I think we just had great examples of it. It really didn't matter what was happening around us. We made a decision very early on that it was me and you.
I think that's the problem with, I think people our age maybe and younger, is they don't think that marriage is like final. It's still, maybe let's get married and try it out. Whether Don't get married if you're trying it out. This is My mentor told me this about what I do for a living, and I think it's the same thing in marriage. He made a comment about, if I dropped you in the middle of the ocean, is that the same as if I dropped you in the middle of a pool? And I remember looking at him the first time like, yeah, it's a little bit different. He's like, but what's different about it? I really didn't know the answer at the time. And he said, if you're in the middle of the ocean, you're going to figure it out. He said, if it gets tough and you're treading water in the pool, if you get a little tired, you get out. And the ocean is the way it should be. And whether it's a marriage or whether it's a career or whatever, but the pool, you can't just get out of your marriage. And if you have that attitude, then it's not going to have to get too bad before you just get out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're out in the middle of the ocean, it could get really bad because you can't get out. You figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that we've always done a pretty good job of figuring it out when the times got tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I definitely think, barring any kind of abuse or infidelity, everything is workable.
Yeah.
And fixable. Yeah. What does Scott say are your greatest attributes as a wife? Not as a mom, but as a wife. This would be interesting.
So when you have a big family, or you have a family at all, and you have a career, you need a partner that supports you in your career, and the other partner has to support, whether the wife has a career or if her career is taking care of the kids. Like in our situation, I think we both have to support each other. And I think you did a great job of that. Yeah, there were some times where things went crazy at work and you're like, well, what are you still doing there? But for the most part, you supported me, like with the kids, taking care of them during the day and doing all the things that the kids needed so that I could go out and work hard and build a career and build a business. And I just think that we were a really good team when it came to that. And I think you had the hardest part.
Maybe, but I would say, if the question was also, and vice versa, what do I think Scott's greatest attributes are as a husband? Just strength and stability. And I've never had to question whether you were going to take care of me, whether you loved me. Just a rock. Like, you've always just been this steady, calm security in my life since I was 18 years old. And that's a long time. And I moved out of my father's home into your home. And so I would just say the greatest attributes as a husband have been that I mattered most. There has never been a question that you love me the most. And we've raised the kids knowing that as well, which leads me to another question, which was, what are some non-negotiables in parenting together? And I will segue into that. A non-negotiable for us has always been, it's me and him. And we've raised the kids to know that. They have absolutely tried to pit us against each other. Sometimes they've done it. They've done it.
Fall for it more than you do.
You do fall for it.
Because I come home thinking that they've already discussed, and sometimes they tell me that,
Yeah.
oh, I talked to mom and mom said to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then I find out later that they had not talked to you.
Yeah.
And I made a decision that was maybe opposite of what you would have made. And so I learned real quick to not necessarily trust that they had spoken to you and talked to you about it.
Yeah. But we went into parenting with some non-negotiables or we figured them out. We figured out really quick that we did not want children sleeping in our bed. I would have had them all sleep in our bed. And he was like, absolutely not. This is our space. This is our bed. And we're kicking them out. And so after kiddo number one, who literally we thought would still be in bed with us when he was 18, we slowly progressed him out of the bed. Like he ended up with a twin size bed on the floor next to my side of the bed. And then once he grew out of that, the other five, we were like, yeah, you got to go. So we started training really early that kiddos had their own space and not in our bed.
We had to learn on the first ones to do it right on the rest of them. So just take that as some advice.
For young, yeah.
Don't let the kids sleep in the bed with you. It's not safe, number one, but number
No.
two, it's really hard to get them out. It becomes a crutch for them, and having their own space is a good thing for them.
In a lot of our conversations with this many children and the chaos of our lives and the busyness of your work schedule and the busyness of the kids, a lot of times the only time we can talk or argue or cry or whatever is in our room, is at night after everybody's gone to bed, because sometimes you can't even do that in the living room because maybe you don't want the kids to hear. It's not like we haven't dealt with important things, whether it was job related or like when the hurricane happened and we didn't want them to be fearful of what the future looks like. We were afraid of what the future looks like on our own. We didn't want to translate that over to the kids. Like for them, they needed to continue to feel secure and safe and not be fearful of what the future held. And so a lot of times those conversations have to happen behind closed doors. And that's when it happens, is in our room behind closed doors.
That's when it happens.
Yes. That's when lots of things have happened. Oh my gosh. Okay. Non-negotiables as a parent, though, are kids can't sleep in our room. Me and you come first. When the kids were younger, we established really good relationships with the Mother's Day Out caregivers. And we were so blessed to have some of the most incredible babysitters outside of family, too. It's great if you have family. Our parents were busy. Your mom was a widow, so that wasn't easy. And my parents were traveling, and so they weren't always around. And so we found some trusted sitters. And when the kids were young, Saturday night, date night was a non-negotiable. And I've said that to people and they've said, we don't have any money. But how many times did we not spend money? It was get out
get out of the house.
We just would sit in the car, or we'd go to a mall and people watch.
Yeah.
We did
every
that a
Saturday. It was pretty religious. We had to spend money on a babysitter, but we didn't necessarily have to spend money on the date until we were able to.
Yeah.
And then we had restaurants that we like to go to, and we go to movies and things like that. But
yeah, date night, non-negotiable, because that was, again, when we could really have our conversations. We could hash out situations, whatever it may be.
And we could date again. It's like you go from it just being the two of you and doing all these things and getting to hang out, and then you have kids, and you can't really do that unless you do a date night.
Yeah.
And then you just get to hang out, the two of you again.
All right. Here's another question. Do you have any inside jokes that have lasted for decades?
Do we?
Yeah.
Tell us.
We're not going to share our inside jokes because they're inside jokes, but we do. We have certain things that we are not going to disclose that we do, and we know what it means to each other. And it could be in a look, it could be in a word, it could be in a touch.
Yeah.
But we do have our inside little signals, and we know the meaning, and
that's why they're called inside.
That's
We're not
right.
letting those in.
That's right. Yeah. So you don't get to know what our inside jokes are. I can share one. It's not a joke. I can share one. There is a certain way that I grab your hand and rub your hand, and I think he automatically knows it's when I'm feeling really sad or like I need him to.
Anxious or something.
I'm anxious, I'm worried, I'm sad. And so there is a certain way that I grab his hand and I rub his hand, and that's when he knows I need more support. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that one.
So we'll talk about that
Outside
one.
of that,
Don't get to know.
inside.
Yeah. Especially if our kids are listening. They don't need to know all the things. All right. What traditions have you built together that we hope will continue for generations? Oh,
The way that we decorate our house, the way that and we do it together. We have
we
our
do.
things that you do, things that I do,
Mhm.
ways that I help you, the ways you helped me.
Yeah,
And
the decorating has evolved and it's something I used to enjoy and then now you enjoy it. And so it's like the farm animals. It actually is participatory between the two of us. You
yeah.
get it.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
I'll go to Home Depot and walk out with 4
Blow
12-foot
ups. Yeah.
things or whatever. I mean, I'm
Scott's
pretty
love.
bad about
Yeah. Scott's love for decorating is the largest blow ups we can find.
are the largest creatures or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. So the decorating that's definitely a thing that
And then when you get our kids when they went off to college and you go to their apartments or to their homes or whatever, that they're doing it as well.
yeah, they are. Yeah.
So,
They do have a love for making it aesthetically pleasing and homey. What other traditions?
I
We've
mean,
started a few.
we've tried to go skiing. It's been a little harder the last few years, but number of years we've gone skiing for Christmas, and we started doing it because we had with the families, and it gets really hard when you start feeling like you're torn between going to this family and going to that family and being in one city and another city. Whereas if you're in a different city with your family, it's kind of, we're skiing. We'll either see y'all before or we'll see y'all after. But as a family, we would go. So it doesn't have to be snow skiing. That's what it's been for us. But it became our thing and go. And we brought a little tree. We'd bring a little thing of decorations. Of course, to do that, we had to drive. And I can promise you it's something that the kids will never forget.
I think that also that goes back to the non-negotiables. It took a little while for us to really to have peace about the fact that a non-negotiable was that it was he and I and our immediate family, the 8 of us, and that's who mattered. Not that extended family doesn't matter because they absolutely do, and our children have great memories of being with their grandparents and their aunts and uncles and things like that. And so anytime we could do that, we would do it. But also, if it began to cause stress in our marriage and in our family to have to choose, we decided that we chose us first. And we don't make excuses for it. We choose us first and we choose our family first. And I think that would be advice that I would also give a young couple and advice that I'm giving my own children. We learned pretty early on to hold specific holiday dates a lot looser. So we don't have to do Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day. We don't have to celebrate Christmas on the 24th and the 25th. We don't have to celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day on those specific days. When we celebrate them as a family and that's what we're celebrating, that's when it matters. We just did it for Father's Day because of my dad's passing. It was really hard for me to focus on Father's Day, but I knew he needed to be honored. And a couple of the kids had work. And so we picked a totally random day and we were like, hey, you know what? Today's the day we're going to celebrate Father's Day. And it was fantastic. And it didn't have to be on that date.
It's not about the day. It's
No.
about the celebration, who's there.
Yeah.
So that can be done on any day. And
Yeah.
I think as far as the thing on the important holidays, we live 2.5 hours from our parents. And it made it hard early on. We're like, we've got to go see our parents. So we load everything up and we go to Lake Charles. But it was hard to do that with as many kids to get everything over there. Then we said, okay, we're going to do Christmas morning here and then we'll drive over there. That wasn't fair to the kids.
Yeah.
Because then they would get a gift and they're all excited. And then you're like, yeah, now we got to go.
Yeah.
You can play with that later. So then we just stopped going for Christmas. And then we felt guilty. If we're 2.5 hours away, it was almost like we're close enough to go. So we always felt torn. If you go 16 hours the other way, then you're 18.5 hours away. Then there's no question. And you're like, okay, can't be there.
Guilt is gone.
Guilt is gone. So,
Well, and our parents, when we told like our parents, they totally respected that. They're just like, we just want to see y'all. We don't care. It whenever y'all can come, and that worked out great. And so that's just worked for us. And that's something that we're telling our kids. Like, look, when we can get when as they get older and they get married and they have children, man, they're going to need to be worried about their family. And we'll just be so lucky when we can get all 8 of us plus all the others together at one time. I don't care when it is. If it has to be in the middle of the summer and that's when we do Christmas, then we're going to figure it out as a family, and that's when we're going to do it. And we're not going to feel guilty about it. And we just are going to celebrate the time that we're together. All right, here is another question. How has your family, speaking of family, how has your family shaped your marriage? How has your marriage shaped your family?
You got to have a happy mom and dad before you're going to have happy kids.
Yeah.
And it's not the other way around. And a lot of people make it that way now. It's all about their little Johnny, and the parents start fighting because we're not giving everything to little Johnny or giving them all the time or whatever. It's got to start at the top.
Yeah. One of our other non-negotiables has been church. We didn't even mention that, but going to church as a family has been a non-negotiable. And when the kids were little, it was not easy. And we actually started something called suburban worship. And if you ask our kids today about being kids going to church, I bet you somebody or all of them are going to say, oh, the funnest time we had is when we did suburban worship. And where that came from is because the church that we were attending had a very small cry room. And so if you think about it, at the time, there were 7 of us. This was before Hamilton. And we had some best friends that actually lived across the street, and they had 6 children. So there was 8 of them and there were 7 of us. And we all went to the same church. And so sometimes we would look out and be like, is their van gone? Because if their van was gone, we knew we had to try to race them, because the 15 of us, right? Is that the number? Yeah.
It's pretty quick.
Wow. You've taught me a lot, because my math is weak. We didn't fit 15 people. 2 families did not fit in the cry room. And so if we got to church and the cry room was full, then we couldn't go in. And so we started doing something called suburban worship, where we would play worship music, and then I would take out the Bible and I would read a passage and I would teach the kids. And that was our church. And we did
And
that.
we drove a Suburban. That's where.
Yeah, we drove a Suburban at the time. This was before the 12-passenger van. And and we did that a lot because we didn't fit. And so church has always been a non-negotiable. Now, I will also say, though, as our children have become adults, their relationship with the Lord is their relationship, and they can't ride our coattails. We can tell them this is what we expect as a family. But I'm also not going to fight with my children about their relationship with the Lord. I'm just going to continuously remind them, because I'm very passionate about it's theirs to discover. And so I don't want to shame my kids if they don't go to church every Sunday. I'm just going to keep inviting them and keep reminding them that's where they're going to find the ultimate peace. That's where they're going to find their strength. And they know that. And so I think that has also shaped our family, because I feel like if they've gotten busy in college and they've maybe pulled away from going to church, we've seen them come back around as adults and say, man, I really need to find a good church. And I love that they are free to find their own church. And so if they don't love the church we're going to, find your own church. If you love a church that you're watching online, we're fine with that too. So we hold that a little looser too than I think we were raised, because we were raised a little different.
Absolutely.
Like, you have to go to this church kind of thing. I just want you in church. I want you in the Word. And however you can get there, I'm going to support you. And as long as, of course, we've been blessed that so far everybody has continued to follow Jesus as their Savior. And we haven't ventured off into
it. It hasn't been a straight road.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, they've all, if they have stopped going to church, they've all ultimately come back to the church.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question. How do you divide the work of living together without feeling like one or the other is doing more? We've argued about that. I
don't want to say we've argued about. I mean, we've had.
Sometimes look, I stay home, and I've stayed home for 32 years. I worked outside of the home once, and everyone hated it.
Was it
Like,
outside the home?
yeah, when I did real estate and I went to the office,
Oh,
it was
Lord.
so bad. It was so bad. The family hated it. And I remember when I finally told the agency that I was working for, I was like, this is not working for my family. I am going to have to, I'm not doing this anymore. The first night that I was back home and I was cooking dinner, I will never forget. One of the girls, it may have been Chandler, came up and she was like, "Oh, you're home?" And yep, I'm home after school and I was cooking dinner. And she was like, "I like this mom better."
Mm.
And that was
Me
it.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. You do too. And you have you have worked really hard for me to stay home. And really, if I would have worked with as many kids, I would have worked to pay for daycare.
Yeah.
And it's just always been something that you probably were the most selfish early on. Like, Scott was never really great about sharing me with work.
Early on, I still don't.
No,
I don't
you
like
don't.
sharing you at
But
all.
that's how we fell into me being a stay-at-home mom too. And my degree, I have a radiology degree. He didn't love the idea of me being pregnant around the radiation.
She had a monitor on her shirt.
They know. Baby, everybody in radiology has that.
Yeah, but most people have never around anybody in radiology. They have a monitor that monitors how much radiation they get. And my wife is pregnant. And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't really want, if you've got to have a monitor on, then that means you're around things that apparently are not good for you. So I was like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. But working together, living in the home and feeling like one is doing more than the other, I think it just balances itself out. Like when the kids were younger and he was going into an office all the time, I did all of the housework. I did all of the cooking. I did all of the shopping. I pretty much did everything until he got home. And then when he got home, a lot of times you were running a kid to a practice. I was bathing babies or whatever, but you never walked in the door and were like, I'm just going to sit in my lounge chair because it's been a really long day at work and I'm exhausted. And now you continue to run around. You were like, walk in, suit off, shorts on, let's go. How can I help? You just have always picked up the slack. And I don't know if it was because it was forced upon you because we had so many kids. So I was maybe nursing a baby and you had to chase a toddler. But I think also it's just who you are and you've enjoyed being very participatory in all of the above. Or, hey, you haven't cooked dinner yet? I've got it. I'll cook dinner. At some point in our marriage, grocery shopping.
That was about finances.
Yeah, it was.
And when we moved to Texas and had to start over after the hurricanes, I think is when that started because I only wanted to buy what was on the list and you weren't always the best at that.
I do not love grocery stores. I loathe grocery stores. And I'm more of a Costco kind of girl and I want to go in and I want to buy everything in bulk. And if it wastes, then I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good. But I don't have to go back to the store. Scott, on the other hand, he's the numbers guy. So he can go look and he can be like, hey, this is on sale at this store and we can get a better price at this store. So when we did make a very big move from Louisiana to Texas and he started business over and we had just lost a home and we had been homeless for a couple of years and everything was starting over, he became the better shopper. And then you liked it, right?
I just kept doing it. It's kind of like the bills. It's not that I liked it. It's just you made the decision that you weren't going to do it. And
I'll go back to ironing as long as I don't have to. I hate the grocery. I hate it so much. We go to the grocery store actually together.
She sits in the car.
And I stay in the car. Every now and then I'll go in with him, but we don't typically go grocery shopping without each other. I just don't actually go in the grocery store. They're cold and I normally have to pee. I don't know what it is about a grocery store, but I have to use the bathroom. And so you were so gracious to do that for me, for the family. Check. Check. I don't iron. I don't pay the bills. I don't go grocery shopping. I'm sure the listeners are probably like, what does she do, Scott? What does she do?
She's done a very good job of taking care of the house and the kids and making sure that we're where we're supposed to be and all that.
I take good care of you.
You have taken good care of me.
Yes.
So
all
it
right.
works.
It does work. Okay, here's a fun one. What's the funniest memory of y'all? What's the funniest memory? Oh gosh, we laugh a lot. Funniest memory though. don't
One
know.
of my funniest memories isn't necessarily us.
Oh, really?
It's when we got new neighbors and we were over there and we had told the kids, we
Oh, yeah.
joked with the kids that
They were little.
they were little and we didn't want someone to move next door because we loved our neighbor, but
We
they had
do.
gotten a divorce. But we'd made all these comments that, oh, if someone else tries to buy that house, we're going to have to do something funny.
Yeah, we're gonna send the kids out. And we lived in a cul-de-sac, so we were like, we're gonna send the kids out naked. Or
We got new neighbors and we're over there meeting the new neighbors. And here comes Carrington running in their house,
the doors were open because the moving company was moving in.
pretty much naked with
Panty liners.
panty liners stuck all over.
Yeah. The kids
And-
thought they were stickers and they had covered their little sister in panty liners. And
Yeah.
we were literally in the middle of the conversation with the neighbors going, hey, look, we have 5 kids. We can't promise you that they're always going to have clothes on. Somebody may run out here naked and we're sorry in advance. And no sooner did I say it, sweet little Carrington, she couldn't have been more than 3 or 4. She was young.
Pretty young.
Comes running in the front door covered in panty liners. And this is our family.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
it.
funny.
That was pretty funny. But we've had we laugh a lot because there's been a lot of situations where if we weren't laughing, we potentially would have been crying, which leads me to maybe a more serious question. What is the hardest part of parenting? What is the hardest thing do you think that we have experienced as parents?
Tough love.
Yeah.
The thing you always want to help your kids, but you've got to get to a point where maybe you don't help them. And it's really hard to say no, because it's not saying no to they want this pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah.
It's a lot more important questions than that and situations than that when you have to use or implement tough love. And unfortunately, we've had to do it, but it's come back as, oh, thank God that you did. Well,
Yeah.
it's what helped me in that situation or whatever.
Yeah. Not rescuing your kids, I would say,
Yeah.
has probably been the hardest part of our parenting journey. The question then followed up with how did we support each other in that time? Oof.
You just have to be there for each other because and you've got to be agreeable on it. So you have to discuss it in advance. And if this situation comes up, this is how we're going to handle it. And I know I can remember.
Well, and give space too, because some of this has been really hard. And so we have processed it different. He's going to process it different as a father than I'm going to process it as a mother. The emotions are different. The want to fix it is different. I maybe want to rescue and maybe he's no, I've had enough, or vice versa. And I think that in making those difficult decisions with your children, you're each going to experience your own emotions. And so I think giving space to those emotions, like I may be angry today about the situation and he may be really sad. You know what? An angry person walking around the house and a sad person walking around the house are not necessarily going to be getting along. And so I think giving space for that and just letting it be. And we've had those discussions where sometimes I'm like, I'm just really sad today. So just let me be sad and honor that that's the emotion I'm feeling. And maybe our emotions are not aligning, but how do we respect what each other is experiencing? Because they are going to be definitely different. And so I think we've done a good job. And I think that's where some of our signals have come from as well, because just because you're struggling with one child doesn't mean you don't have 5 others that you're having to be happy with or provide for or whatever. And so coming up with some of those signals of, it's just not a good day for me. And so I'm not look, we're never operating at 100% because we're humans. So if I'm operating at 90% today, he may be operating at 60%. How do I step up and make up the difference to support him and vice versa? Hey, I'm at a 50 today because this is what's going on. And so then maybe he knows, all right, I've got to step it up and make up the difference.
Yeah, just trying to be on the same page as much as you can be. We've created a lot of boundaries and a lot of rules with our kids. That's helped in some of those situations for big things and for little things, whether it's what kind of car you're going to get, whether we're going to hire you an attorney. There's a big difference between those two things, but discussing it in advance so that we have already come to an agreement, I think is really important, to where it's not something that just surprised one of us.
Yeah.
And I think communicating and for things that you can create the boundaries and create the rules and things so that everyone knows that if this happens, this is what's going to happen. And this is how mom and dad are going to handle it. And I think in those situations, it's easier for everyone to handle.
Yeah.
Easier for everyone to handle, not easy.
Yeah. Next question. I'm a Grace gal, and I've got to ask this question. Where have each of you experienced or extended grace the most in your marriage? Where have we extended or experienced grace the most? I think it's seasonal. I think that the past year has been really hard on me, which means it's been really hard on you because we are so close that I feel like we feel each other's emotions very deeply. And so if you're hurt, I'm hurt, and vice versa. And so I think that, especially I'll just speak to the last year where I feel like you have extended grace to me as and it's been a representation of how you have done it. And then the kids have done it is just giving me space to be in a grieving state for right now and that being okay. And I think it's seasonal. And I think you just have to know what each other is going through. And then it's easy to extend that grace and say, okay, I need to, or if work is really stressful or something has happened and I know it's going to be a greater expectation on us financially, which means you're going to have to pull the weight, going, oh, okay, how can I be more supportive of him at this time? How can I ask about his appointments, even though you share very little details, but he can share with me, it was a good appointment, or I've got a lot of work to do, or whatever it may be. But
You've always done a good job of that. And like I've always told you, if we're good, I can do anything.
yeah,
But when we're not good, it's hard to do the hard things because we are so dependent on each other, and not in a bad way, not like codependency, but I mean, it's true when two people become one in a marriage, we are one. And if one's hurting or whatever, then it makes it tough. And when it comes to work, it's just always been really important for me to know that I've got your support at home. And it's not, oh, you're doing all the stuff at home. It's more, a lot of times you were kind of like my cheerleader. And when you did that, things work.
yeah,
And I feel, because when you work on commission and you're building a business and all those things, it's not always easy, but to have a partner that supports you, it makes it all okay. At least it has for me.
yeah.
As long as I had you, I can make anything happen.
Yeah. If we've ever been arguing, which we absolutely argue, sometimes we argue like siblings, like little children. If we do, it's just, and I'm the most ridiculous in an argument because I'm going to be the first one that's going to be like, I'm just not talking to you. And
that can go on for days sometimes.
That's not true. Maybe. But he's more, you're quicker to forgive and move on. But he also is more of a, let's just sweep this under the rug arguer. And I'm like, let's expose this. We are going to get down to the nitty gritty. And
you are.
I am. And so with that dynamic where I will jump into an argument, unfortunately, let's go. And he's more, oh, let's not fight about that. And he's just not as feisty as I am. And so he's the calm, I'm the storm. It's fantastic. But if we are not talking, then at some point during the day, it's like one of us, oh, I'm so sad, or I miss you, or whatever. And we work from home now. So it's literally, I'm on one floor and he's on the other and we're texting. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I do love you, but I don't like you much right now. And that's okay. I don't have to like you all the time.
No.
I'm sure you don't
as long as you love me.
I do love you, but it's okay if you don't like me either. Okay, here's something. What have you discovered about each other in the last year? And how does that strengthen you? Something you've discovered about each other just in the last year. I think that I have felt this way for our whole marriage, but I think in the last year, it has definitely been evident that there is just really not anything that I don't want to have to go through with you by my side. I can't think we've been through a lot between the hurricane, the loss of a home, difficulty with children,
Lots of parents.
finances. But I think losing my parents, even though we had experienced losing your father so many years ago, we were so young and dumb and brand new married. Oh my gosh. Everything was coming at us at one time back then. But I would say that over the past years, especially the past year, there is nothing I want to do without you by my side.
Ditto. It was tough on you. Your parents had become my parents, so I was dealing with that, but at the same time, they were your parents, and you were grieving in a pretty massive way.
Yeah.
And so I tried to be there for you as much as I could and try to make sure that the kids understood that mom may not be mom right now.
Yeah.
And maybe just it's going to be different for a little while. And it was, and it took time, and it was like all of a sudden one day you were back to being the same person you were before. And I just prayed to God that day would come, and
Yeah.
and it did, but it took some time.
It just changes you.
Yeah.
And not for the worst.
No, but it takes a little while for you to figure that out
Yeah.
because of the loss, and you have to realize that even though you may not be able to pick up the phone and call them, you can still talk to them. You can still pray with them. And you can still remember them. You know, it's not fun.
No. What are you most excited about in the next season of life?
Which season is that? Because we're in
Are we in
we're in the
next
boomerang season right now because we've had a bunch.
Somebody did send in, like, how's empty nesting? And I just sit back laughing faces. I'm like, empty nesting? Our nest is not empty. I don't think it's ever going to be empty. And I am totally fine with that. I think you are too.
I'm not
To
fine
an
with it to
extent.
an extent.
But next season,
Yeah, I don't even know what next season is.
no.
If we've got seasons, and what's the medical show that the kids watch? The one
Grey's Anatomy?
Grey's Anatomy. How many seasons has there been?
A lot.
Yeah, like 14. We're in
Yeah.
6. We're in season 6. Because, I mean, it just feels, when you think maybe you're going into this season, curveball, we're going into that season.
Yeah.
So I don't even,
I don't even know most excited about. It's always a curveball.
I keep thinking, I get excited about one day it'll be the two of us and we'll be able to go travel. We won't have to answer to anyone. And then someone comes home. Or this happens or that happens. And so
Yeah, I don't think. I just think the most exciting thing for me about the next season is that we're going to be doing it together. That we're just going to be doing it together. And that's exciting enough. All right. How do you envision, this is the same thing. How do you envision spending the next 30 years together? As long as they're together, I don't know what the vision looks like.
I don't have a clue.
I don't either.
And I ask him all the time. And
He doesn't
I
tell
think
us.
he's laughing.
He's having a great time.
Yeah.
He's having a great time. We've said this a few times that if there's a comedy show in heaven, we're certain it's us.
We're the stars.
We're the stars. We are. You're a star.
Yeah, you're a team.
What dreams do you still want to chase as a couple? I know.
I always loved when your parents would get in that motorhome and go.
Yeah.
And it was just the two of them. And I would love to get another motorhome and have the time to do that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a few days at a time. They would go sometimes for a month at a time.
They would. They traveled a lot.
Yeah.
Just the two of them.
And I'd love to be able to do something like that. We always enjoyed.
And I think it'll be fun when the grandkids are older that maybe it'll be you and I and a couple of the grandkids and we'll have.
Sometimes. But sometimes I want it to just be me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be a dream that I would say that we're chasing, just to have a little bit more together time as
Just the
well.
two of us.
Yeah.
And we're always together,
We
but
are
just the
always
two of
together.
us.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on being married this long? Would you do it again?
Absolutely. Only with you.
I agree 100%. 100%. I wouldn't do it with anybody else.
I think the biggest thing is you have to understand that when you make that decision to get married, you're not making a kind of a part-time decision. It is, I'm getting married, and no matter how rough the road gets, that you're going to figure out a way to work it out and stick together and just figure out a way to do it together.
I don't think there was ever a question, though, from when we started dating to now that God specifically chose you for me.
Yeah, I think we've both felt.
And knowing that and believing that this was orchestrated by Him, for Him, and everything goes back to how we can honor Him in our marriage. How do we honor Him in our family? And respecting that, like we said at the onset of this, when I said, I love you the most, you're second. He comes first in our individual relationships, and then He comes first in our marriage. And that, I think, leaning on that foundation has made a big difference in how we have faced a lot of things in the past 30 years.
Yeah, because when things go wrong, I can blame it on him because it was his plan. So
Yeah.
that was your plan that went wrong. Hey, that's on you, bud.
He can take that.
Yeah. And I guess another thing that I would want younger couples to understand is, and older couples too, but praying about the big things in advance and getting the direction from your prayer, I think is important, because early on we made a lot of decisions and we forced it where it was clear He was telling us no.
Yeah.
And we just kept figuring out a way around it.
Yeah, we did.
And then those things ended up being just
burdens.
tough. Yeah, they were definitely burdens. And now we've had some pretty funny stories where we prayed about something, one or two or both, and made a decision not to do something or whatever that was maybe surprising for the other, like at the Audi dealership.
Yeah.
And in going with it, I mean, truly believing that was a conversation with Him and then following that direction. And I think from a financial standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from a marriage standpoint, I think when we do it that way, there's a lot less stress. Things just go a lot better. And there's been some things like this house where, because we prayed about it and we kind of let Him guide us, we haven't had near the stress on this home than we had on some of the smaller homes where we maybe forced ourselves to do something. This was so orchestrated by Him that there's so many things that I don't stress about that 7 or 8 years ago or 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have been stressing tremendously. But I believe it was because we prayed about it and He guided us in each direction on each piece to where I know this is where He wanted me. And I think a home is just one example, but there's so many decisions you make in your life. And if He guides you into it, even when it doesn't work out right, like I said before, you can lean on Him as, hey, this is what I thought you wanted me to do, and it hasn't worked out. Well, a lot of times it's because you had to go down that road to find the right door to where He really wants you to be. And it's not easy to learn that, because we've bumped our heads a lot on the way. That the prayer and His foundation, I think, has been so important. And it took me way longer than you to learn that.
I'm just the smarter one.
You are.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, but I agree. And I think some of that was learning a lot of surrender. And surrender is not something that I don't think you can always just do it. I think sometimes you have to learn it. And kind
The
of like
hard
our
way.
kids, you have to learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
That, you know what, you've got to surrender this. And a lot of times we have to surrender our marriage and our own desires in marriage to each other and more importantly to him and say, okay, how are we going to get through this as individuals, as a couple, as a family, and let him do his job rather than us trying to do it for him.
Yeah.
Thanks for being my first
Well, thanks for
man.
inviting me on here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You may be the first and only man on the podcast. It is the mom show.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for listening. This has been fun, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening to The Mom Show with Courtney Doyle. Remember to check the show notes for any links, books, or resources that are mentioned in each episode. We want to be sure this blesses other mothers, and in order to do this, if you're listening via podcast, be sure that you like and share. If you could write a review, that would be fantastic. It helps us get in front of other moms. If you're watching via YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. This way, you won't ever miss an episode. We want to make sure that we increase our reach to other mothers who need a little encouragement, a community, and a whole lot of Jesus. We're so glad you're here.